Let's get started. Alex, what can we do for you tonight?
Hi, guys. So, I called it a few times. The long story short, I'm basically asexual, and I don't generally have really much of a desire to really sleep with people or even like kiss people, and I'm sometimes cuddly and huggy, and sometimes I'm not. And the past couple days, I've been doing some sexual experimenting with people, and I don't know, I'm kind of apprehensive, I'm kind of curious, and I don't know if there's a way I should approach it so that I can figure out whether I'm doing something and being comfortable with it, or if I'm doing something just because I feel like I should try it.
Yeah, I'll jump in first and then hear from y'all. But I guess the advice that I would give you is that it's okay to be both. It's okay to be a little bit uncomfortable. We certainly wouldn't encourage you to do anything that isn't safe or that you don't want to do. But to feel a little challenged, a little squiggy is okay within a healthy context. And I think the one piece of advice I would give you is to kind of set in your mind an expectation that if you are going to try something new, something that maybe pushes your boundaries a bit, to go into it with an understanding that you can do this again. I often tell people, go ahead and commit if you can to trying something twice. That way, when you get started, you don't feel this obligation to have this incredible once-in-a-lifetime experience, because in a couple of weeks, you're probably going to try again. And it can take some of the pressure off and give you an opportunity to sort of dip your toe in without feeling obligated to get the full experience.
Right. I would piggyback off that for sure and say that wanting to have sex is not limited to being sexually aroused. You don't have to want sex because you're horny. You can want sex because you want to make your partner happy, or because you want to experiment and see what it feels like, or there are any number of good reasons to have sex. It doesn't have to be just that, oh, I feel like I need it for my body tonight. It could be I feel like I just want to see what's going on and give it a try. That's also just as valid, and that also counts as, enthusiastic consent. Just make sure that the other person kind of knows where you're at and knows that this is an experimental thing that you're doing, and maybe to establish a safe word or something if you guys are doing something and you realize you don't like it and don't want to continue. It's always good to have one of those as well.
That's what I was going to say, boundaries and communication. Have a safe word. If something doesn't feel right at any point, you can stop. Just because you agree to something doesn't mean that you have to go throrough with all of it.
Exactly.
And it's worth just reminding folks that for most situations, your safe word is no. Yeah. Stop. Please don't.
I mean, a good one.
Consensual non-consent is wonderful and beautiful and valid, but it's probably not what we're talking about here. So, just letting somebody know, your partner, as you're experimenting, this is an experiment. We're in the laboratory, so have your fire extinguisher ready, and know that it's not personal. It's not about you.
Right, yeah. I mean, I've made it clear, and, I was talking to a few of the people, and, the person who I was really getting it on with was, fully aware that I'm not really, I said, I'm not necessarily looking for anything, but I'm down to try things, because I really do like to just kind of put my foot in the water and test things out, and, it's not really something I'm seeking or going out of my way, but it's not something that I would totally turn down. And, it's kind of like, well, I still have my identity, and I still don't really experience attraction or, any emotion attached to it. But at the same time, there is there's something that I like about it, and there's something that, I would be fine not doing it again. It's, one of those, I could be either way with it. And, it's weird because I don't know a lot of other people who have that kind of feeling about it. And so I don't know if it's that abnormal or if it's that rare or if people just don't talk about that.
I would say that the A of the LGBTQIA, I think about the I and the A all day, every day. I think about how many asexual identified people that don't know that that's a choice, that had sex when they didn't want to. I think about that constantly. There are so many types. There's so much to the binary of just asexuality too.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
That's what I was actually going to ask you. Remind me the word.
Demisexual.
Yes.
But
there's a couple
demisexual,
extra-
there's multiple subsections of the A acronym of ace
Google
folks.
those.
Like all these things we're talking about,
Amazing.
they exist
Yeah.
on a spectrum.
It's pretty
And you were talking about the
enlightening.
number of asexual folks who had sex when they didn't want to because they didn't know that was a
Yeah.
valid identity, but also the number of asexual folks that have had sex that they enjoyed and wanted, because having sex and liking it does not invalidate your asexual label.
Right. There are sex repulsed asexual people, and then there are people who aren't bothered by it and aren't even interested in it, and that doesn't. You are still valid in your asexuality even if you want to have sex.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it's people conflate like sexual attraction with libido or general like sex drive.
Yeah.
And like I don't really have a high sex drive anyway, and I'm I guess I'm kind of weird because my sex drive fluctuates really without rhyme or reason. Like I'll have days where it's really high, and then I can go weeks without it even crossing my mind or being something I'm interested in. And it doesn't really bother me. I mean, like I know that there are people who I know, and it kind of upsets me that they feel this way. That get concerned about oh, I'm not feeling horny lately. It's like that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not something you need to worry about. And I mean, not to go off too much on a tangent, but I think that doctors push us to like be worried. Oh, if you're not getting a sex drive, there's something horribly wrong with you. When it could just be, there's something perfectly natural going on in your body or your mind that's just, we're not confined to, our primal instincts. Unfortunately, and that's just how we are. And I have a few things I want to try with people who are receptive to it, and I'm going to figure out a way to go about communicating that with them. But because I've had some people who are telling me that they find me attractive, which that's another thing. I really don't like myself and the way I look, and so I'm like worried about people seeing me like without clothes on, and that could be part of what's going on with me, that I don't really like seek out sexual activity because I don't want people to really see me without anything on, or I don't know. I mean, the person that I was with was pretty like tolerant of the fact that I don't have a lot of security or that I don't really know what I'm doing, and so it was a fine experience, and I wasn't like, I don't regret anything, but I don't know. It's like, well, if you try that enough times, something's going to go wrong, and I don't know if I should be thinking about that or kind of just seeing where things take me.
I think that it's very valid to say that your sex drive or your interest in sex has a lot to do with how you see yourself. I used to do burlesque for a few years, and prior to that, I would go to the beach in a jean jacket. Like, there's so much freedom and joy to finding sexy things about yourself, even if it's small increments, like, oh, I really like my wrists or my arm, or like, I love my ankles. I love the way I look in a hoodie with no pants. Like, there's so much power to liking even the smallest bit of yourself and kind of discovering that, playing with that. I think you'd be really surprised how it manifests itself in your sexual conquests.
That makes a lot of sense.
Also, just to say, not every sexual experience is going to be amazing either. Like, things are going to go wrong at some point, but that's not you. That's everybody. Everyone has those sexual experiences that they just tell at parties to make people awkward, or at least I do. I don't know if other people do. No, but like, yeah, eventually there's going to be an awkward sexual experience in your future if you're pursuing this. But that doesn't reflect on you. That doesn't reflect on your asexuality. That is completely normal. I would be more concerned if there was never any.
It's some of my favorite parts of having sex, was all the funny things that happen.
I mean, it definitely makes it easier to have a podcast or a YouTube show.
There you go.
It's true.
Yeah, I find like bare skin on bare skin to some degree a little bit odd, especially if it's large surface areas of like human skin, like just like rubbing up against other areas. It's like, this is not a good feeling for me.
Wait until it makes some noises.
Oh, yeah, that squeakiness.
Yep.
Well, it sounds like you've got a lot of exciting things to explore.
Cheers to that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind trying things, and I'm very open-minded about stuff, and so I think that's going to be like helpful. And one of my friends was telling me that like it's good to kind of know where you're at with this sort of thing, because a lot of people our age don't. I mean, I'm only in my early 20s, and I know a lot of people who are my age and saying, when I was growing up, I tried all this sort of stuff and I regret it because I wasn't informed enough about it.
Yeah, I would encourage a sense of curiosity. You talked about knowing these things about yourself, and that's a fine ideal, but I would encourage more of just an exploration of yourself, because the things you think you know will inevitably change, and that's part of the beauty of it. That's, how you make the next 100 years interesting. So we appreciate you calling in again and letting us know you're starting this journey, or at least taking another step in it. I know that I, for one, would love to hear the next chapter. So please feel free to give us a call or shoot us an email and let us know how it goes.
Okay, thank you for taking my call. This has been helpful.
Glad to hear it, and best of luck to you. It might not be great, but I think that even that can be a great time.
Yeah,
so
go
good luck.
fun.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely. Take care. Yeah, I think in the end, if you want to sing out, sing out. If you want to sing low, sing low. I mean, there's so many different ways to be asexual, to be disabled, to be queer. I mean, I don't want to be cavalier with these labels as if they don't matter, because I know, I know myself, like I have bled and sweat for these adjectives, and they're important to me, but not so important that I pretend to know them. It is a curiosity, and it's an ever-changing thing.
Well, and I think just understanding that it's all fluid.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be ups and downs in almost every aspect of life, but you don't have to stick to labels, especially with your sexual identity.